Japan has just experienced a political earthquake, shaking the globalist establishment to its core, and sending shockwaves far beyond its borders. The world is watching as the country, long seen as a bastion of stability, suddenly finds itself at the epicenter of a dramatic political transformation. But this is not just a fleeting moment, it's the culmination of years of mounting frustration with the globalist agenda, spearheaded by organizations like the World Economic Forum, that has left ordinary Japanese citizens feeling unheard and unrepresented. This seismic shift is not just a local phenomenon, it signals a new era in the worldwide populist movement, echoing the rise of nationalist and anti-globalist sentiments across continents. From Europe to the Americas, and now to East Asia, the populist wave is gaining unstoppable momentum. The World Economic Forum, often seen as the nerve center of globalist policy, has promoted open borders, mass immigration, and economic integration, policies that many Japanese now see as threats to their national identity and economic security. The July 2025 upper house election saw the ruling Liberal Democratic Party and its partner Komeito lose their majority, a first in 70 years. Voter turnout surged to 68%, the highest since 1986, reflecting a public eager for change. The political landscape, once dominated by these parties, has been dramatically redrawn overnight, with the LDP losing 23 seats and Komeito dropping below the threshold needed for coalition control. For the first time since 1955, the LDP is a minority in both chambers of the Diet. The halls of power now echo with uncertainty, as analysts scramble to make sense of this unprecedented result. Polls show that 62% of Japanese voters cited dissatisfaction with globalist economic policies and a desire for stronger national sovereignty as their primary motivation. But this upheaval wasn't led by the usual opposition. The traditional parties, long seen as the only alternatives, were left reeling and unprepared for what came next. Their platforms, often echoing the same globalist talking points, failed to inspire a public hungry for real change. It was the Sansto Party, a nationalist movement founded in 2020, that stunned the nation. Once dismissed as a fringe group, Sansto has now become a household name, capturing the imagination of millions. Their platform directly challenged WEF-backed policies, calling for tighter immigration controls, protection of traditional culture, and economic policies that prioritize Japanese workers over multinational interests. Sansto surged from a single seat to 15, becoming the third largest opposition party overnight. Their rapid ascent has rewritten the rules of Japanese politics and inspired similar movements worldwide. Notably, 48% of voters under 40 supported Sansto, signaling a generational shift away from the old order. This was more than an election, it was a revolution, a clear rejection of the globalist elite's failed policies. The people have spoken, demanding a new direction and a return to national values. The WEF's push for digital IDs, ESG mandates, and transnational governance has met fierce resistance in Japan, where 71% of respondents in a recent poll said they opposed further integration with globalist institutions. The established order was blindsided by the frustration and patriotic energy simmering among ordinary Japanese. Years of economic stagnation, Japan's GDP growth has averaged just 0.5% annually since 2010. Cultural anxiety and political disillusionment have finally boiled over. Many blame globalist trade agreements like the TPP for eroding local industries and weakening Japan's economic independence. Sansto's victory is proof that the desire for national sovereignty and cultural preservation is universal. People from all walks of life have united under a common cause, determined to reclaim their nation's future. Surveys show that support for Sansto cuts across age, gender, and socioeconomic lines, with 54% of rural voters and 41% of urban voters backing their platform. The Japanese people have declared, loudly and unmistakably, that the era of elite-driven governance is over. A new chapter in Japan's history has begun, written by the will of its citizens. The message to the WEF and globalist elites is clear: Japan will not be dictated to by foreign interests. A new post-globalist world is rising, and Japan is leading the way, showing the world that real change is possible when people stand together for their nation's future. The political tsunami in Japan is not just a national event, it is a warning and an inspiration to all nations under the shadow of globalism. If you found this deep dive insightful, Don't forget to like and subscribe to Smarto Brains for more engaging explorations into breaking news, politics, sociology, economics, and social policy. At the epicenter of Japan's political earthquake stands Soh Kamaya, the audacious and unconventional leader of Sansto, a party that's not just shaking up Japan's political landscape, but threatening to upend the globalist status quo. With a style as brash as it is magnetic, Kamaya has become a lightning rod for both criticism and admiration, drawing fierce opposition from the political establishment and international elites. Kamiya's background is a direct rebuke to the political elite. He's not a legacy politician, he's a former English teacher and supermarket manager, someone who's lived the struggles of ordinary Japanese citizens. This outsider status gives him a unique perspective, allowing him to connect with voters who feel abandoned by the ruling class and ignored by the technocrats of Tokyo. He's often called Japan's answer to Donald Trump, and for good reason. Kamaya openly models his direct confrontational style on Trump's Playbook, challenging the media, breaking political taboos, and calling out the establishment. But his opposition isn't just domestic. Kamaya has positioned himself as a fierce critic of the World Economic Forum and the globalist agenda, which he argues have eroded Japan's sovereignty and undermined its economy. Kamiya's authenticity and willingness to challenge the status quo have electrified voters hungry for real leadership. His rallies draw passionate crowds, and his message resonates with those who feel left behind by rapid change. In the last election, Sansto's support surged by over 300% compared to previous cycles, a clear sign that his message is striking a chord. While the WEF and globalist policymakers pushed for open borders, deregulation, and international integration, Kamaya saw what the elites ignored: deep anxiety over economic decline, cultural erosion, and national security. Japan's GDP has stagnated for decades, and over 30% of young Japanese now say they have little hope for the future. Kamaya made these concerns central to his campaign, promising to restore pride, prosperity, and national identity. Unlike establishment politicians who rely on expensive consultants and pollsters, often with ties to international think tanks, Kamaya listens directly to the people. He's held over 200 town halls in the past year alone, gathering unfiltered feedback on rising costs, immigration, and the loss of traditional values. This grassroots approach has made him the voice of a silent majority. His rise from ordinary citizen to political insurgent proves that authenticity and patriotism are the new currency of power in Japan. Kamiya's journey is a testament to the power of grassroots movements and the enduring appeal of leaders who truly represent their people, not the interests of global corporations or foreign NGOs. Kamiya's success is more than a personal victory, it's a direct challenge to the WEF and the globalist order. His upset win sent shockwaves through the political class, with international media warning of a populist wave threatening the carefully managed consensus of the past. He's inspired patriots everywhere, proving the global populist revolution has found its champion in Japan. His movement echoes far beyond Japan's borders, connecting with a worldwide wave of political transformation that rejects the dictates of Davos and Brussels in favor of national sovereignty and local values. The age of the bureaucrat is over. The age of the patriot has begun. In Japan and beyond, Soh Kamaya's rise signals a new era, one where the voice of the people can no longer be ignored, and where the globalist agenda finally faces real resistance backed by the will of the nation. Sansto's meteoric rise is a masterclass in modern populist campaigning, demonstrating how a movement can surge from the ground up in the digital era. In a political landscape long dominated by established parties and traditional media, Sansto's emergence was nothing short of remarkable, especially as it challenged the globalist status quo promoted by organizations like the World Economic Forum. Lacking big donors and media backing, Sansto built its movement online, launching as a YouTube channel during the pandemic. With only grassroots resources, they turned to the internet as their main stage, using video content to reach people stuck at home and hungry for new ideas. By 2022, their YouTube channel had amassed over 300,000 subscribers, and their videos regularly drew hundreds of thousands of views, far outpacing the digital presence of many mainstream parties. Kamaya and his team bypassed legacy media, speaking directly to citizens through social media and live streams. They held Quanda sessions, responded to comments, and made politics feel personal and accessible, breaking down barriers between politicians and the public. This direct engagement stood in stark contrast to the top-down messaging favored by globalist institutions, which often alienate ordinary citizens. This digital-first approach created a vibrant online community where ordinary Japanese could share concerns and find belonging. Forums, group chats, and video calls became spaces for debate, support, and organizing, giving people a sense of ownership in the movement. In a 2022 survey, over 60% of Sansto supporters reported participating in online discussions or events, evidence of a highly engaged base. 73% of Sansto voters cited social media as a key influence compared to just 28% for traditional TV news. The movement's message spread rapidly through retweets, shares, and viral videos, reaching people who might never have tuned in to mainstream news. This digital wildfire was fueled by frustration with globalist policies that many felt had eroded Japan's economic security and national identity. The movement was powered by volunteers, not corporations. Every smartphone became a broadcast station for the Japan First message. Ordinary citizens filmed speeches, created memes, and organized events, turning digital activism into real-world momentum. In 2022 alone, Sansto volunteers produced over 10,000 pieces of original content, amplifying their message far beyond what traditional campaigns could achieve. Sansto's support came from unaffiliated voters, especially men hit by economic stagnation and young people seeking a new future. Many felt ignored by mainstream parties and saw Sansto as a voice for their frustrations and hopes. A 2022 exit poll showed that 48% of Sansto voters were under 40, and 62% had never voted for a major party before, clear evidence of a new political force. This digital uprising proved you don't need mainstream media or globalist approval to build a powerful movement, just authenticity and a compelling message. By staying true to their values and engaging directly with people, Sansto inspired a new kind of political participation, one that resists the homogenizing influence of the WEF and similar organizations. In the digital age, the people have never had more power to make their voices heard. The Sansto story is a testament to how technology, community, and passion can reshape politics from the bottom up, challenging the dominance of globalist elites and returning agency to ordinary citizens. Sansto's platform was unambiguous: Japan first. Their message wasn't just rhetoric, it was a direct response to a nation in flux. In the past decade, Japan's foreign population surged by over 40%, reaching a record 3 million in 2023. Sansto warned that unchecked immigration, often promoted by globalist organizations like the World Economic Forum, risked eroding Japan's unique culture and fueling social tensions. They called for strict immigration controls and the protection of Japanese identity, an appeal that resonated with 68% of Japanese surveyed who expressed concern about rapid demographic change. On the economic front, Sansto opposed WEF-backed globalist policies like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, arguing these agreements undermined local industries and jobs. Instead, they promised tax cuts, fiscal stimulus, and a focus on Japanese workers. At the heart of their movement was a revival of traditional values: family, national pride, and cultural heritage. Values they argued were threatened by globalist agendas. Polls showed over 60% of Japanese voters wanted stronger protections for their culture and economy. Sansto's message was a data-driven response to these anxieties, offering security in a rapidly changing world. This is the new face of conservative populism in Japan, rooted in statistics, analysis, and a clear stand against the WEF's globalist vision. Across Europe, a powerful pro-family, pro-nation counter-revolution is underway, standing in direct opposition to the globalist agenda championed by organizations like the World Economic Forum, or WEF. At the heart of this movement are Hungary and Italy, where leaders have rejected the WEF's push for open borders, mass migration, and supranational control. Viktor Orban's Hungary has become a model for resisting globalism. Instead of relying on mass immigration to solve demographic decline, a solution promoted by the WEF, Hungary has implemented robust pro-family policies. Since 2010, Hungary's birth rate has increased by over 20%, and the number of marriages has doubled, thanks to policies like interest-free loans for newlyweds and housing subsidies for families with children. Lifetime income tax exemptions for mothers with 4 or more children, generous maternity benefits, and direct cash incentives have made Hungary a leader in family support. These measures have led to a 40% drop in abortions and a significant reduction in divorces, proving the state's commitment to its people, not to the dictates of globalist elites. In Italy, Giorgia Meloni's meteoric rise from outsider to prime minister was fueled by her unapologetic defense of God, family, and fatherland. Meloni's government has prioritized border security, tax breaks for families, and policies that protect Italian identity, directly challenging the WEF's vision of a borderless post-national Europe. Both Orban and Meloni have faced relentless attacks from establishment media and EU bureaucrats aligned with globalist interests. Yet their patriotic, common-sense conservatism has triumphed at the ballot box, showing that national sovereignty and traditional values resonate with millions. Like Japan's Kamaya, Meloni has forged a direct connection with ordinary citizens, listening to their frustrations over economic insecurity, cultural erosion, and the loss of national identity under globalist policies. These movements are the vanguard of a new European reality. As the WEF and globalist elites push for a homogenized world, the nation-state is making a powerful comeback, rooted in family, tradition, and the will of the people. In Argentina, Javier Milei is spearheading one of the most radical economic transformations in recent history, a shock therapy that has stunned both supporters and critics worldwide. Elected in 2023, Milei inherited a nation devastated by 276% annual inflation, a poverty rate exceeding 40%, and a public sector swollen by decades of political patronage and mismanagement. In response, Milei slashed the number of government ministries from 18 to 9, implemented spending cuts amounting to 5% of GDP, and launched a sweeping privatization campaign, directly challenging the globalist economic orthodoxy promoted by institutions like the World Economic Forum. The results have been dramatic. Argentina posted its first fiscal surplus in 16 years, and monthly inflation plummeted from 25% in December 2023 to under 10% by mid-2024. The Argentine peso stabilized and investor confidence surged, with the stock market rallying over 50% in dollar terms. Economic forecasts now predict Argentina could see GDP growth of 3% in 2024, reversing years of stagnation and decline. Yet Milei's revolution has faced fierce opposition. The World Economic Forum and globalist leaders have condemned his policies as reckless, warning of social unrest and international isolation. But Milei's supporters argue that only such bold measures could break the cycle of debt, inflation, and dependency. For many Argentines, and for observers in other debt-ridden nations, Milei's success is a beacon, proving that radical populist economic reform can defeat the entrenched interests of big government and globalist elites. Argentina's awakening under Milei demonstrates that with courage and conviction, even the most broken economies can be revived, despite the warnings and resistance of the global establishment. Japan, Hungary, Italy, and Argentina are just the crest of a populist wave sweeping across the West, with over 30% of voters in major European countries now supporting populist or nationalist parties, a dramatic increase from just a decade ago. Across Europe, once fringe parties are surging. The Austrian Freedom Party recently topped national polls. Germany's AfD has doubled its support since 2017. Wilders' Freedom Party in the Netherlands won the most seats in the 2023 election, and the Sweden Democrats are now the second-largest party in parliament. In France, Marine Le Pen's national rally is polling at record highs, with some surveys showing over 30% support, making it a serious contender for government. Southern Europe and the UK are seeing similar shifts. Spain's Vox party has become the third largest in parliament, Portugal's Chega quadrupled its seats in the last election, and the UK's Reform Party is polling ahead of the Conservatives among working-class voters. The formula is clear: secure borders, national pride, and economic policies that prioritize working people. In country after country, voters are rejecting the status quo. These movements are a direct response to the failures of globalism and the elite consensus promoted by organizations like the World Economic Forum, whose open borders and top-down governance have fueled public backlash. What unites these parties is a belief in the nation-state, secure borders, and the defense of cultural identity, values increasingly threatened by globalist agendas. This is not a scattered protest, it's a powerful international movement for national renewal, with millions mobilizing against the influence of the WEF and globalist elites. The West is waking up, demanding sovereignty, security, and a future free from the dictates of unelected global institutions. At the heart of these global uprisings lies a common strategy, what many now call the Trump Playbook. Trump's 2016 victory was a seismic shift. By leveraging social media, he bypassed a hostile mainstream press, reaching over 87 million Twitter followers directly, an unprecedented feat in political communication. Leaders like Kamaya, Milei, and Meloni have adopted this model, using live streams and viral posts to build authentic grassroots communities. In Italy, Meloni's online engagement surged by 300% during her campaign, while Milei's digital following doubled in just 1 year. The "Drain the Swamp" message now echoes from Tokyo to Buenos Aires, uniting millions against entrenched elites and the globalist agenda pushed by organizations like the World Economic Forum. Trump's unapologetic nationalism, "Make America Great Again," has inspired movements like Japan First, Italy First, and Hungary First. These campaigns directly challenge the WEF's vision of borderless governance and technocratic control. The core idea is simple but powerful. People everywhere crave home, culture, and sovereignty. Polls show over 60% of citizens in major democracies now distrust globalist institutions and favor national self-determination. The Trump Playbook has become the rallying strategy for the forgotten men and women, those left behind by globalism and ignored by the WEF's elite gatherings in Davos. It's a blueprint for challenging entrenched power, exposing the failures of globalist policies, and winning back control for ordinary citizens. The revolution Trump ignited is now a global movement, one that stands in direct opposition to the WEF and the forces of globalism. The battle lines are clear, and the populist wave is only growing stronger. Japan's political earthquake is not an isolated event. It's a powerful confirmation that we are living through a great awakening, a global movement reshaping the very foundations of our societies. From Kamiya's digital uprising in Japan to Orban's pro-family revolution in Hungary, Meloni's unapologetic patriotism in Italy, and Milei's radical economic reforms in Argentina, the evidence is overwhelming. Populist movements are surging, with over 30% of voters in major democracies now supporting anti-globalist parties. The message is clear. The era of unchecked globalism, championed by organizations like the World Economic Forum, is being decisively rejected. Polls show that trust in globalist institutions has plummeted to historic lows, with 62% of citizens in advanced economies now viewing them as out of touch or even adversarial. Ordinary citizens, long ignored by detached elites, are reclaiming power. In country after country, voter turnout is surging as people demand a voice in their own destinies, rejecting policies imposed from above. These movements are united by a demand for security, economic, cultural, and national. They are leveraging modern technology to organize at a scale never before seen, with online activism and grassroots networks outpacing traditional political machines. The future is being shaped by patriots in Tokyo, Budapest, and Rome, cities where national identity and sovereignty are once again at the forefront of political life. And in Buenos Aires, the people are sending a message to the globalists in Davos and Brussels: your era of technocratic rule is over. The WEF's vision of a borderless, managed world is being replaced by a new demand for self-determination. A new world of strong, independent nations is being born. In the last 5 years alone, the number of countries holding referendums on sovereignty issues has doubled, and support for supranational treaties has dropped by 40%. The Great Awakening is not just a slogan, it's a measurable, unstoppable force. The world is witnessing a historic realignment, as millions reject the WEF's globalist agenda in favor of local control and national pride. And this is only the beginning. The Great Awakening is here, and it's just getting started. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on breaking news, politics, sociology, economics, and social policy, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and follow SmartoBrains. Join our community for more deep dives and real analysis you won't find anywhere else. Your support helps us bring you the stories that matter most, so don't miss out.